A political storm erupts over frozen Russian assets in Europe. At the center of the controversy, the suggestion to tap frozen Russian sovereign assets, a move now being branded by one of Europe's own leaders as nothing short of stealing. Belgium's Prime Minister, Bart de Wever, is raising the alarm with a warning that is shaking Brussels. He calls the EU proposal very unwise, ill-considered, and at odds with legality, and Belgium has far more at stake than most. Nearly 185 billion euros of Russian state assets, almost the entire bulk, are parked inside Euroclear, the Belgium-based clearing giant. If anything goes wrong, Belgium carries the legal and financial blast radius. De Wever says better solutions exist, and he is not ruling out legal action against the EU if the bloc pushes ahead. The stakes are enormous. A legal fight between Belgium and Brussels would be unprecedented and could splinter EU unity at a moment of intense geopolitical pressure. But Belgium is not alone. German lawmakers, too, are signaling resistance, warning that the legal foundation is shaky and the political price could be devastating. EC chief, too, urged allies to respect international law while using frozen Russian assets for Ukraine.
It's not that we are refusing, it's just that we are saying we have to respect the Treaty of Europe in relation to the functioning of the European Central Bank. Our duty at the ECB is, number one, to respect the treaty, number two, to communicate to the leaders whose decision it will be. It's not my decision, but it will be for the leaders to decide whether there is a risk of financial instability, because one key node in the financial network within which we operate, namely Euroclear, is at risk. That's our duty to say it. The second duty we have is to check that international law is respected, because it's a matter of trust in our economic region, in our currency. So my strong hope in that is that we help Ukraine, that we help the financing of it, but not bypassing the treaty and not bypassing the imperative of financial stability, which is the reason why the Belgian government, which has authority over Euroclear, where it has its headquarters and legal roots, the Belgian authorities want to be guaranteed and secure that the risk will be in solidum and not a risk for Belgium.
This uproar follows an announcement by European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, who wants these immobilized Russian funds to back a 90 billion euro loan package for Ukraine over the next 2 years. Under her plan, financial institutions holding Russian assets would be compelled to transfer them into a new loan mechanism. Brussels is also attempting to make the asset freeze indefinite by divorcing it from the bloc's sanctions regime, a move widely interpreted as a way to prevent Hungary from blocking future renewals.
If you look at the IMF estimates that Ukraine will need 135 billion euros for the next 2 years, that is 2026 and 2027. This is needed to keep the state and the basic services running, so the civilian side, but also to continue enabling the brave resistance on the battlefield of Ukraine, so the military side. And since pressure is the only language the Kremlin responds to, we can also dial it up. We have to increase the costs of war for Putin's aggression, and today's proposal gives us the means to do this. So what is this proposal? Today we are proposing to cover 2/3 of Ukraine's financing needs for the next 2 years. So this is 90 billion euros. The remainder would be for international partners to cover. Now, we had an intense discussion also on the position of Belgium, where Euroclear, the main source, is situated. We have listened very carefully to Belgium's concerns, and we have taken almost all of them into account. in our proposal that is today on the table of the reparations loans. We have very strong safeguards in place to protect member states and to reduce the risks as much as possible. For example, to ensure that an illegitimate award outside the Union cannot be enforced inside the Union. And very important, we have created a very strong solidarity mechanism where in the very end the Union can intervene, because we want to make very sure to all our member states, but specifically also to Belgium, that one thing is for sure: we will share the burden in a fair way, as it is the European way.
And Moscow, predictably, has reacted with fury. Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has issued one of his starkest warnings yet, saying Russia has already prepared retaliatory measures for any attempt at expropriation. He argues that Western governments supporting Kiev have run out of their own money and now intend to rob Russia to fund the conflict.
Of course, the situation is evolving to some extent, acquiring new facts, but overall the trend remains unchanged for now. The West is not united. This has been further confirmed by recent events, when President Trump, in one of his interviews, fundamentally assessed Europe's actions regarding artificial containment. Agreements that could very well have been reached regarding the Ukrainian settlement, ensuring the elimination of those very root causes that are the main obstacle on this path. But Europe is artificially restraining this process, trying in every possible way to incite the Ukrainian leader, so-called, and members of his regime, so that they do not stop fighting until the last Ukrainian. The truth is, there isn't enough money. And now, even this ideological fervor is being influenced by financial considerations, because apart from robbing the Russian Federation and taking in violation of all conceivable norms of international and commercial law, our gold and foreign currency reserves, they have no other sources left to finance this war. And this is despite the fact that more and more countries, including a number of EU members, as well as opposition parties in EU and NATO countries, are recognizing the senselessness and futility of continuing this policy. But in Europe, the desire to inflict a strategic defeat on Russia blinds them.